Welcome into On the Mark. Actually, today is going to be called On the Rail. See what I did there? Because this is our Kentucky Derby preview show brought to you by Naira Bets. Of course, also by 500 Level. Naira Bets, bet the Kentucky Derby and experience the thrill of the sport of kings with Naira Bets. Really excited that they've come on board with us. Horse racing app. Find them fast, easy, and of course, secure. Get your free $25 Derby bet plus a $200 deposit match at nairabets.com/Anita25. Of course, 500 Level. Listen, we just got done with the NFL draft. All those rookies, new players for your select teams. As I always like to say, run, don't walk to 500 Level. Go get your Jackson Dart, you Giants fans, right? Travis Hunter, you Jaguar fans. Heck, Tennessee Titans, you've got a new quarterback in Cam Ward. So again, we want to thank Naira Bets as well as 500 Level. And of course, ABR, America's Best Racing. No other place to go get your horse racing information. Everything under the sun, some of the best content at ABR. And we've got two new sponsors, Cold Flame Ventures, with some fantastic Wing Woman, of course, it's my nickname, Wing Woman whiskey, a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old scotch, as well as a fantastic gin from Italy, El Dottore. And last but not least, another sponsor as well. Listen, it's horse racing, so you've got to have some liquor involved, and that's Brayburn, an international whiskey cask investment specialist helping investors protect their diversity, wealth with liquid gold, Scotch, and Japanese whiskey in the cask. You want some more information on how to invest? Go to us.brayburnwhiskey.com/Anita. Interested in some fantastic whiskey and gin? Go to events.thespirits.shop. All right, let's break down the show for you. Ryan Anderson is going to be joining us. You see him all over America's Best Racing, as well as Naira Bets. He's been handicapping horse racing for 6 years. We're going to break down a number of the horses that are going to be strutting their stuff on Saturday, late afternoon, early evening, who potentially could win the Kentucky Derby. He's also going to give us his Derby pick. We also have Matt Bernier, who's going to be joining us. You're going to be able to see him all over FanDuel TV as well as NBC Sports. He's going to give us his play for the Derby as well. I promise you, when you are done with this show, you're going to be so ready to go to the window, and hopefully we will have helped you win some money. So without further ado, all right, joining us now is Ryan Anderson. He's the host of the Saturday show on ABR, America's Best Racing. He's been handicapping horse racing for about 6 years. Ryan, it is the Super Bowl of horse racing that kicks off the season for a lot of people. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh, I'm ready, yeah. There's no better way to start. It's kind of like having dessert before dinner. You know, we start with kind of the best thing here. Derby week, Oaks week, it's super exciting. It's all the best 3-year-olds in the country, both male and female. It's the best older horses in a lot of the undercard races, and it's race after race of top-tier talent, and it really doesn't get better than this.
All right, so we're going to break down a number of the horses that you feel have a legit shot of winning this damn thing. But before we do, let's talk some of the big storylines, right? And the fact that Bob Baffert is back in action is a big one. We'll be hearing a lot of people talk about that all throughout the day on Saturday. What are your thoughts about Baffert being back in action?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the sport. He's one of the top trainers in the country. He has some of the best horses, certainly out on the West Coast, but certainly countrywide. So I think it's good. It's good for the competition. It's good for the betting market. He has some really interesting runners throughout the entire day on both Friday and Saturday as an interesting Oaks contender. He has some horses running on the undercard of the Derby, and of course he has 2 Derby entrants in Citizen Bull and Rodriguez that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. So I think it's good for the sport. It's good to see him back at Churchill. I'm happy everything's resolved and in the past, and hopefully it's nothing but good going forward.
All right, and the other storyline is just the speed in this race is going to be electric. Would you say that this is the most speed heading into the Derby that we've seen in a while?
I don't know about the most speed. There's a lot of speed to the inside in this race, in the Kentucky Derby. However, a few years back, they absolutely went way too fast. I'm trying to remember some of the horses' names, but I know Crown Pride was one of them, along with some others that were in that field. It was the year that Rich Strike won from way off the pace at a huge number. They went really, really fast. Sub 45 seconds to the half mile is the quickest kind of in Derby history. So I don't know that we're going to see that type of speed in this race, but I do expect it to be probably no slower rather than 46 seconds to the half. So still going to be fast, and you're still going to want to look for those horses that come from off the pace.
Well, they say it's the most exciting 2 minutes in all professional sport. And so, I don't know, maybe it'll be the most exciting minute and 50 seconds. Who knows? Only time will tell. We will find out. Let's break it down, starting with the horse that is favored, and that is the number 8 horse, and that's Journalism. Son of Curlin, have won 4 of 5 and has the pedigree to run all day long. Justified that Journalism should be favored heading into Saturday?
Oh, yeah. Journalism should be the favorite. However, your current second choice, Sandman, is going to take a good amount of play in the wagering just because of the connections. Obviously, being named after the famous Metallica song, Enter Sandman. They have, it's a social media influencer. I believe it's Tyler Griffin or Tyler Johnson is his name. Griffin Johnson, sorry. So he's obviously had a big influence. He's been posting a lot about that horse. It has a lot of buzz. And not to mention the horse's color. The horse's color is gray, and people love to bet gray horses. So I think that's going to have a lot to do with some of the betting. But I think at the end of the day, the best horse in the field, undoubtedly in my eyes, is the number 8 Journalism, coming in off the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby win, and has really done nothing wrong. Winner of 4 straight, including 3 graded stakes races coming into the Kentucky Derby. Drew a nice post. Umberto Rispoli, the jockey, knows him really well, and I expect this horse to maintain favoritism throughout and should be a big threat, obviously, as a win candidate here.
Another horse you want to talk about is Sovereignty. It is the 18th horse, son of Into Mischief, won the Fountain of Youth, a legit closer, but with a lot of speed. Our closer is going to have that much of an advantage in this race. What are your thoughts about the 18 horse?
Yeah, so it's important to point out there's a distinction between kind of, a closer that Sovereignty certainly is, and a horse like kind of Burnham Square, who's going to come from middle of the pack. So it's 2 different run styles. So the Derby favoring closers, they're really going to need a hot pace, and that's going to come down to when they're going when they hit the 3/4 pole, and when they're 6 furlongs through the 10 furlong race. That's kind of the determining factor. If they're going 109, then you can really expect a closer. 110, expect a closer. But anything slower than that, and Sovereignty's going to have his work cut out for him without a doubt. But I think he's going to be the overlooked horse. He's going to provide a lot of value. I just mentioned Sandman's going to be taking a lot of play. Journalism is obviously your favorite, but Sovereignty's coming in off a really nice second-place finish in the Florida Derby, a race that he did not have to win. Trainer Bill Mott does an excellent job bringing horses into a race, pointing towards a date. The Florida Derby, where he finished second, was not the be-all, end-all. This is the be-all, end-all. This is the race that they're targeting for, so I expect him to take another step forward off of that last effort. I think he's going to provide some great value, and in my eyes, he's just as talented as Journalism is heading into the Derby.
All right, well, let's talk about Sandman, the 17 horse. Put it together in the Arkansas Derby, that's for sure, but the 17th post has never produced a Derby winner. But you're saying you think a lot of money, a lot of cash is going to be played on Sandman.
I do. I think there's going to be a lot of money. I'd expect him to hold around the 5-1 that he's currently at. It could possibly go lower, but that would really surprise me. But yeah, you want to talk about a deep closer. Sandman is just that. He's going to need a ton of pace ahead of him, but he does have the public on his side. Again, he's partially owned by a social media influencer who's promoting it, and that's really good for the sport and the brand. So I love to see it. People are going to be excited to see him on track. Obviously, he has a name and a color that people are going to be associated with. But in terms of his specific run style, he's going to be coming. I would expect him to be in 19th or 20th for most of the race, coming from dead last. He's going to really need a pace setup. He's a horse that I would feel confident having in the top 4 somewhere. I don't know about a win candidate, at least for me, because he's going to have just so much work to do, and he's going to have to pass 18 of the best 3-year-olds coming down the Churchill Downs stretch, and that is no easy task.
Let's talk about the 10 horse. Son of Curlin has only raced 3 times, but came in second in the Wood Memorial.
Yeah, Grande, trained by Todd Pletcher, owned by Rapoli Stables, ridden by Johnny Velasquez. This is an interesting dark horse. Currently a price, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25-1. Was 20-1 on the morning line. I think took a little money early. It faded as it stands right now with about 300,000 in the pool or so. But it is a really interesting horse who's just kind of coming into himself. A horse where we haven't really seen the ceiling. So, it's one of those where if you think this horse has a ton of upside, Todd Pletcher, nobody trains horses to go long on dirt really better than Todd Pletcher does. He's a Hall of Fame trainer for a reason. This horse is bred to love the 1.25 miles. Johnny Velasquez has won the Derby a handful of times, so I certainly think that this is a contender. If you believe that in the Wood Memorial effort, having a wide trip the entire time, running behind a wire-to-wire winner in Rodriguez, I think that would make Grande a very legitimate dark horse candidate to win the whole thing or finish somewhere in the top 4.
A lot of people like to wager based on the name of the horse. They look at the program, they see the name of the horse, they're like, I love that name, I'm going to go to the window. Tiztastic has got to be one of those horses, right? It's got the Derby distance and also won the Louisiana Derby. What are your thoughts on the 14 horse?
Yeah, a couple notes on Tiztastic. He's the son of Tiz the Law, who is my personal favorite horse. New York bred for Saratoga Stables. He was racing in 2020. Tiztastic, trained by Steve Asmussen as his publisher, who I'm sure we'll get to here in a second. Steve Asmussen, winningest trainer in North America history for thoroughbred racing, yet has never won the Kentucky Derby, which I think just goes to show how difficult it is to win this race. Irad Ortiz, the jockey who's going to be on publisher, has also never won the race, and he's had numerous Eclipse Awards for leading jockey. But Tiztastic, to stick on him, his run style certainly fits. He should be in a decent spot when they turn for home. It's kind of similar to the Sandman in post 17. If you believe that the winless streak from post 17 can be broken, and then you can believe that Steve Asmussen is due to win a Derby, and he'll get one of these days. It's not because he doesn't know how to train horses. Again, he's the winningest trainer in North American history. So I like Tiztastic. I think he has a shot, and he's definitely going to be an underneath candidate for me in the Derby.
Interesting, right? Journalism is favored, but we've got another horse in this race. Dealing with the media, Publisher, as you just mentioned, finished second in the Arkansas Derby, coming out of the 13th post. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Publisher is actually a maiden in this race, meaning he's never won a race, never finished in first. However, he has the run style that really fits here to love in the Derby. He's going to be in that mid-pack, maybe a little bit behind mid-pack, kind of, in front of Sovereignty, behind some of those midfield runners. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him run. I think that you can kind of disregard the fact that he's a maiden. He's got all the talent in the world, and again, Steve Asmussen knows how to train these horses, so I'm not worried that, it's a horse that has never found the winner's circle getting into the Derby, still a maiden. It's certainly possible that he can break through in a big way, so I think he deserves a real shot, and he's going to be another horse I'm going to be using kind of in that second, third, and fourth positions.
Another cool name, Flying Mohawk, the 11 horse, never raced on dirt before, not sure if he has enough speed for this group. What are your thoughts on the 11 horse?
Yeah, certainly a long shot look here, but this one is also going to get some good publicity and some good play at the windows because he's partially owned by Jason Worth, former Philadelphia Phillies Major League Baseball player. He owned parts of Dornoch, who won the Belmont Stakes last year, also ran in the Kentucky Derby last year. However, he drew the one post that year, so everything was pretty much eliminated out of the gate. That's a hole that you do not want to, or a gate you don't want to break from. But Flying Mohawk, again, deserves a shot. You can't really overlook anybody in this field. They're all the best 3-year-olds in the country. So Flying Mohawk, I think, deserves, a look. I wouldn't have him any higher than 4th, at least for my tickets. Let's
talk about the 9 horse, right? Burnham Square won the Holy Bull Stakes, 4th in the Fountain of Youth, and also very impressive in the Blue Grass Stakes as well. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about the 9 horse.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take you guys to the window a little bit later, but this is my top pick in the Derby, and I'll tell you how I'm going to play that. But Burnham Square, I love this horse coming in. He's done all the right things. He's progressed the right way, and more importantly, I don't think we've seen this horse's ceiling and this horse's best effort yet. I was on site the Bluegrass Stakes and I watched him win by a nose over East Avenue, and I almost lost my voice. Obviously, I love watching this horse run. Brian Hernandez is the jockey aboard. He had the magical ride aboard Mystic Dan last year, skimming up the rail. And the way that Burnham Square has been training, the way that Brian Hernandez has been training him, he's been glued to the rail. Hernandez, more importantly, is a jockey that's not scared to try and take that gap if it materializes, or just make the gap himself. So I count on Brian Hernandez and the horse to both work out the right trip. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. You have to have the right jockey and the right horse in order to win this race because, you can be the best horse, but the best horse doesn't always win this. You have to get the right trip, and there's a guy like Brian Hernandez who I trust to do that.
The 7-horse, Luxor Cafe, son of American Pharaoh. Of course, we all remember what an exciting season that was. Really just destroyed the competition in the Japanese road to the Derby. Could this be a sleeper horse come Saturday?
Absolutely. Luxor Cafe, his races in Japan look very talented. Should be noted, he is winless going left-handed on turns, and I believe undefeated going around right-handed turns, because they race a little differently in Japan. So that's something to note if you want to take that into account. I personally don't know how much that's going to affect the actual race. I still think come Kentucky Derby Day, if you're on the best horse and you have the best jockey, and his jockey, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing, but João Moreira, but the Magic Man is pretty much all I refer to him as, because overseas he has been nothing but excellent in all the rides he's given. So I think the jockey's got a great chance. I would like to see him have more mounts earlier on, just so he has a better feel of the track. Because I think that's a huge advantage, obviously, if you know how the track's playing and you know what maybe plays faster than others. But at the end of the day, I think Luxor Cafe is coming into this in great condition, and he is going to be sitting kind of off the pace, but not too far back. So he should get the jump on those deep closers. He's a real dark horse. You kind of either love him or you hate him. But for me, I honestly don't think I'm going to be using him. I think he's going to be overbet just because of the connections coming from Japan and overseas.
Japanese horses, they come in, man, they get a lot of attention on Derby Day, that's for sure. All right, earlier on the show, we talked about Bob Baffert being back in business. Let's talk about the 2 horses that he's bringing to the Derby. The 1 horse, Citizen Bull, son of Into Mischief, but has the number 1 post. How's that going to play out?
That's going to be really tough. Citizen Bull is a need-the-lead type, at least in my opinion, and from looking at his past performances, that's where he does his best racing. So the 1 hole is going to be really tough. You know now he's going to be on a dead send from that rail. He's got to break clean is step number 1. Step number 2, he's just got to get hustled out of there. He's going to keep the blinkers on. He did train a couple times with the blinkers off. He was training in and behind horses. But then they put the blinkers back on him. They sharpened him up, tightened the screws, so to speak, for this last work coming in here. So I expect Bob to have this one on the lead and have him ready. Him and Rodriguez both drawn towards the inside, but Citizen Bull from the 1 post I would expect to be gunned for the lead pretty much at all costs.
All right, let's talk about the other Bob Baffert horse, and that's Rodriguez coming out of the 4th post. Now, you talked about the blinders. Took off the blinders and won the Wood Memorial, but now having the 4th post, again, not the most ideal spot for Bob Baffert now to have 2 horses in the race, which we know he typically has multiple, but to come out of the 1 and the 4. What are your thoughts on Rodriguez?
Yeah, another one that I think is best on the lead, but I think Rodriguez, unlike Citizen Bull, has the ability to be a little more tactical and rate his speed. So he doesn't have to be a dead send to the front, although I do think that's where he does his best work. So I'm curious to see if we have a situation where, Citizen Bull is sent to the lead and Rodriguez is kind of right off his flank, maybe a half length or so behind. And that's how they kind of set things up. I don't think that they're going to duel with each other because obviously they're both owned by the same group in SF Racing. They're both trained by Bob Baffert, so that wouldn't make much sense. But I do think they'll be close up to the pace. I would expect Citizen Bull to be on the lead, but if he doesn't break well, I would expect Rodriguez and Mike Smith to be up on the engine for the race. But I think they'll be close to each other no matter what.
Let's talk about the 3-horse Final Gambit. Trainer is Brad Cox. I'm hearing a lot of buzz right now, although this horse has never run on dirt. What is the buzz, and could this be a legit long shot for folks to use in an exacta or a trifecta?
I think he's a legit long shot you can use underneath without a doubt. I do think he's kind of the wise guy horse at the moment. Every year in the Derby, there's always that horse that, people kind of gravitate towards, and no one has a distinct reason why other than, they just kind of feel it. So, yeah, Final Gambit has never run on the dirt. He's coming off an excellent win in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. However, he got a sensational pace setup that day. He comes from off of it. That entire race bunched up at about the 16th pole. Final Gambit had a clear trip. He was about 10 wide coming down the stretch, but he was in the clear. He was moving best, and he finished off really nicely. So is it possible that he finishes underneath 100%? And I'm going to be using him underneath on a lot of my tickets. But as a win candidate, he's going to have so much go right just in terms of the pace. Again, he's going to need that pace to collapse, and he is facing a lot better horses than he did in the Jeff Ruby Stakes.
I want to mention a horse that isn't in this race yet, but typically on Saturday, there can be a situation where a horse pulls out for a variety of reasons. The number 21 horse, Baez, is sitting there. If Baez does get included into this field and does race in the Derby on Saturday, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so he's a really interesting runner. Trained by John Sheriffs, just ran a close second behind Journalism in the Santa Anita Derby. It was a very small field. That was only his first try against winners after breaking his maiden the race before, but comes in here, owned by CRK Stables. They want to try and make the body of the field, and as they should. This is a really talented runner. The mom or dam of Baeza is Puka. Puka also through the runner Dornoch, who we just spoke about, who won the Belmont Stakes, and also through the runner Mage, who won the Kentucky Derby 2 years ago. So a very productive dam side on the pedigree for winning these big high-caliber races. Has a decent run style, and more importantly, the jockey booking, if Baeza were to draw into the race, is Flavian Pratt. Flavian's your reigning Eclipse Award jockey. He just set the record for graded stakes wins last year in 2024. He has been sensational, if nothing else, in the Kentucky Derby. I don't believe he's finished worse than sixth more than once in all of his Derby mounts. He's been fantastic, so he's a must-use for me. I don't know if I would use him as a win candidate because I think he's going to get overbet and he's not going to provide the value that would translate to a good bet, at least in my opinion, but he is very talented. I don't think we've seen the best of him, only coming into his second start against winners.
All right. As always, each and every year, and we have the pre-race coverage that we're going to be watching on NBC, and America's Best Racing also does a really great job the week of, like, sharing the stories. And a lot of people do go to the window and wager on horses because their heartstrings have been pulled, right, Ryan? So let's talk about some of the horses out there with some pretty amazing stories. And one in particular is horse number 16, Cole Battle. What can you tell us about this horse?
Yeah, Cole Battle he's done nothing wrong. He's been sensational at Oaklawn Park. He's trained by Lonnie Briley as a really small stable, only 35 starters so far this year, and that's just in all of his horses. So that could be multiple horses. For instance, Cole Battle has had 4 this year. So, it's a small stable. It's a small operation. This horse only cost, I believe, $70,000, which is pretty, small. It's a drop in the bucket for what a lot of these horses cost. But more importantly, it's just a small operation. It's a trainer who's obviously loves the sport, as they all do, but he has this once in a lifetime type of horse. He's made it in the gate. He's done everything the right way. He has the right kind of run style where he's going to be mid-pack, and he's kind of push button. He's really mature for a 3-year-old. He's handled traffic. He's been able to navigate, and he listens and corresponds to the jockey really, really well. You can tell they have a really good relationship with each other. So this is one I'm really looking forward to running. I might have a small win bet on the side just because I rooted for this horse the entire spring campaign at Oaklawn Park watching him run. So I definitely don't want to, get off the bandwagon now.
What about Chunk of Gold?
Chunk of Gold is very interesting. This is the cheapest horse in the race that's not a homebred. You have horses like Sandman, who cost $1.2 million. Journalism cost over $800,000. Multiple six-figure animals in here. Chunk of Gold costs $2,500, which is less than a bar of gold currently costs. So, yeah, Chunk of Gold, again, just the kind of horse you want to root for. Low-profile connections again, but just it's one of those stories that's going to make great for racing, whether this horse wins or loses. They made it in the gate. The connections of this horse have to be so excited that they made it in the gate in the first Saturday in May. And again, anything can happen in this race. It's known for its chaos. It's known for producing wild outcomes. So, if you're in the gate at post time, you have a shot.
And one horse outside of the Derby is Torpedo Anna. I know you wanted to talk about this horse. What's so special? What's so unique? What's the story there?
Yeah, this filly is awesome to root for. Kenny McPeak, first of all, is the trainer of this horse, and Brian Hernandez, they teamed up to win the Oaks last year with Torpedo Anna as a 3-year-old, and then came right back, obviously, with Mystic Dan. But Torpedo Anna and Kenny McPeak have done such an excellent job for the sport of racing. Kenny has been very transparent on Twitter and social media, just showing Torpedo's workouts and getting fans a close look at this superstar. And more importantly, Torpedo Anna has won. I don't have the. Oh, here we go. Won her last 4 races. Only finished second against the boys in the Grade 1 Travers Stakes at Saratoga, and then prior to that also rattled off 4 previous wins. So 8 of her last 9 runs have been victorious. She's just an excellent horse to root for. She's really good for the sport. She's the kind of animal that you wake up and you're excited to watch run. You don't even have to necessarily have a win bet on her. She's just one of those animals that's just really fun to watch run around the track. Her and Brian Hernandez also have an excellent relationship, but she's really good for the sport. She's good publicity, and she's just a heartwarming story.
All right, it is about that time. And again, a big shout out to Naira Bets. They are sponsoring the show. Experience the thrill of the sport of kings with Naira Bets horse racing app. Fast and easy and secure. Get your free $25 Derby bet plus a $200 deposit match at nairabets.com/Anita25. So with Naira, let's hold our listeners and our viewers' hands, Ryan. And as I like to say, take us to the window. What are all the ways you are going to be wagering on the Derby?
Okay, so I mentioned I love Burnham Square, so I'm going to have a win bet on him, just stand alone. That's my solid Derby pick. I'm not going to budge from that. So I'll have a win bet, and if we're going to use this deposit bonus, we'll say, I guess my budget's around $225 since they're giving you the $25 bonus. So we'll say I'm putting $75 on Burnham Square to win. Easy as that. That leaves me about $150 to deal with, and I want to play a trifecta in the Derby. It's trifecta, superfecta. They both provide really good value. I'll stick to the trifecta and make it easier. That's picking the top 3 finishers in the race. You can pick as many horses in each of those spots as you want. Each horse is going to correlate to a dollar amount, though, so that ticket adds up quick. How I'm going to play it is your favorite journalism. I'm going to use him in a position that's called a key. So I'm going to key him underneath in second on one ticket and then in third on another ticket. So to explain that, I'll use Burnham Square, Sovereignty, Sandman, Coal Battle, Publisher, Tistastic, and Grande with journalism in second, and then I'll use all those horses again in third, along with the likes of Final Gambit, Rodriguez, and like Chunk of Gold to throw in there as well. And then for the other ticket where I key journalism in third, I would use those same horses in first and in second. So essentially what I'm wagering on there is that journalism is the best horse in the race, but he's not going to get the best trip in the race. So I think that he is still good enough with a bad trip to finish second or third. I can't decipher which, so I want to play those 2 tickets. I'll split them up evenly, and then I'll use the groups of horses that I think have the chance to get a better trip than him. If Baeza were to draw into the race, he would absolutely be a horse that I would include in those first and second slots as well with those groups of horses. So that's how I would take you to the window. I do a $75 win bet on Burnham Square as my top pick in the race, and then I would key journalism underneath in second and in third with a group of my top horses.
Fantastic. All right. We've got everybody locked and loaded. Make sure you, as I like to say, run, don't walk to Naira Bets to make sure you get those bets in. Before we let you go, what is your favorite race / favorite horse on Saturday outside of the Derby? Let's give people some house money to play with before the Derby does go off.
Let's do it. So earlier in the day on Derby Day, it is the Twin Spires Turf Sprint. And these turf sprints can often be chaotic. You don't want to take the favorite a whole lot. It's a really interesting race here. You have a couple horses coming out of the same race at Keeneland. A horse named Rogue Lightning, who is likely going to be your favorite, is coming in second start overseas, ridden by Flavian Pratt. He was the favorite last time out, and he lost to the horse that is my top pick again in the race. Horse's name is Think Big. Ben Curtis has been riding fantastic the past month. So he is confident, he's feeling himself, and he's coming into this race the right way. More importantly, the horse has become a turf sprint monster. This 5.5 furlong distance, this horse is 3 for 3, has an amazing turn of foot, has been able to outkick the number 8 Rogue Lightning, who is a European horse. A lot of times their kick is better than a U.S. bred horse. But Think Big, kind of blew by him last time out. I expect Think Big to be at a decent price, around 4-1, maybe 5-1. I think that creates some good value. And Ben Curtis, Michael Stidham is the trainer. They're going to be overlooked compared to some of the other connections in here. This horse has the right run style. This horse drew post number 7, which is not going to be to his detriment. He's going to sit right off the pace. He's going to get a run on those closers. And the 5.5 is a very tricky distance. You have a lot of horses in there that like to go 5 furlongs, and they're speedy. That extra half furlong, it might not seem like a lot, but it catches up to these horses. And this horse, Think Big, loves every bit of the 5.5. So he's going to be my top play outside of the Kentucky Derby that I can't wait to bet and hopefully cash some money so I can throw it all on Burnham Square and that trifecta key when we get into the Derby.
Fantastic. Ryan, where are you gonna be watching? What are you gonna do? How can people find more picks and plays from you on Friday and Saturday?
So you're going to struggle not to see my face on Friday and Saturday. Myself and Naira Betts, Matthews DeSantis are going to be hosting a 24-hour live stream starting Friday morning, and we're going to be doing it as a Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance fundraiser. So we're going to go from noon Eastern time, on Friday through noon Eastern on Saturday. And we will be nonstop, covering the races, handicapping, having special guests on. And then after that concludes on Saturday, myself and my excellent co-host Jackson Muniz for America's Best Racing are going to go on to the Saturday show, and we're going to take you through the entire Derby card, as well as racing from around the country, including an excellent field and card at Oaklawn Park on Saturday. We'll have racing at Santa Anita and Aqueduct. All of it sponsored and brought to you by Naira Betts, in part with America's Best Racing. So I cannot wait to do that. But yeah, again, you'll be struggling not to see my face on Friday through Saturday, because I will be on it for about 30 hours of that entire time. So that's really what I'm looking forward to. But it's the best 2 days of racing. In the spring, it kicks off racing for the entire year and catapults us into the summer and the Triple Crown. So I'm really excited to get going.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us and making us all that much more intelligent as we head into the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Anita. This is awesome.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Betts. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime, with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Betts. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBetts.com.
I tell you, what an exciting time, the Kentucky Derby, and you have to go to Naira Betts to experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings with the Naira Betts horse racing app. Bet the 151st Kentucky Derby and join smart bettors across America. Watch the races unfold and cheer your picks to victory. It's fast, easy, and more importantly, secure. Get your free $25 Derby bet plus a $200 deposit match for new members at NairaBetts.com/Anita25. Download today and make Derby Day count. And of course, ABR, America's Best Racing, no other place to go get your horse racing information, everything under the sun, some of the best content at ABR. Also want to give a shout out to 500 level iconic original graphic tees. 500 level live like a legend. 500 level immortalizes the legends of the game with iconic original graphic tees. Custom t-shirts typically print next business day and ship directly to your home. Sign up for fan points and begin earning on every purchase. Major League Baseball, MLS, NBA, NHL. They even have UFC and WWE. And again, the draft just happened. You want to get your rookie t-shirt from the team you cheer for? Run, don't walk. Shop 500level.com now and get this. Use my code MARKS20 for 20% off. 500 level, live like a legend. We also want to give a shout out to new sponsors of the program. Cold Flame Ventures, Good Intentions in a Bottle, Wing Woman Reserve Whiskey, a 9-year-old Scotch, and of course an 8-year-old Scotch as well. Benefits and supports the anti-human trafficking organizations like Unitas, InGo. The 8-year-old whiskey was the finalist at the 2023 Scottish Whiskey Awards, and a gin as well. El Dottore Gin, a sippable Italian gin that benefits and supports autism causes, specifically Sophia's Mission in New Jersey. Both brands are available at events, thespirits.shop. And last but not least, Brayburn are the international whiskey cask investment specialist helping investors protect their diversity wealth with liquid gold, Scotch, and Japanese whiskey in the cask, because whiskey is one of the rare assets that improves in quality as it ages, while also becoming scarcer every day. It's been used for centuries to create and store generational wealth. Whiskey cask investment is simple. Work with experts like Brayburn to buy quality whiskey at a fair value, allow it to age for at least a few years in government bonded warehouses in Scotland or Japan as required by law, and then Brayburn can help you sell your cask to monetize whenever you're ready. They've helped thousands of investors around the world acquire casks for over the last decade. Investors or whiskey aficionados at all levels who are curious to learn more are encouraged to scan the QR code. Podcast listeners who apply with the code can take advantage of a 5% bonus on new make whiskey. Head to us.brayburnwhiskey.com/Anita. All right, there's another special guest joining us on the program, and that's Matt Bernier. You can see him all over FanDuel TV as well as NBC Sports. So, Matt, great to have you on board. The Kentucky Derby, of course, Triple Crown always starts out with the Super Bowl of racing, and it's going to be a fun one. As we know, journalism is favored. My question to you is rightfully so. Do you feel this is the best horse in the race on Saturday?
Really, no question about it, Anita. Coming into this year's Derby, you could make the argument that journalism is a better favorite than any favorite we've seen really in the better part of 5 or 10 years. He kind of stacks up with the likes of California Chrome, American Pharoah, who went on to win Triple Crown, as well as Justify, who did the exact same thing, go on to win the Triple Crown. He has two Beyer speed figures, which are the numbers we use to basically decide and tell how fast or slow any given horse is. He has two numbers coming into this race that are faster than anyone else in this field. So he does sort of stand out head and shoulders above the rest. Doesn't necessarily mean you should bet him. He's likely to be in that 3-1 range, but he is a very deserving favorite on Saturday.
All right. Now, I'm hearing the pace of this race is going to be insanely fast. Agree or disagree with that? And also, do you feel that this is the fastest field we have seen in some time?
I think a lot of it has to do with dynamics. We talk about the post position draw, 20 horses. Where is everyone going to be slotted as far as the start is concerned? And to the detriment of the other speed horses, the majority of the speed is to the inside. Bob Baffert coming in from California, he has two of the main speed threats, Citizen Bull from post 1 and Rodriguez from post 4. But then you've got other very fast horses like East Avenue, who's going to break from post position 12. American Promise, the 5 horse, is not a slow horse early on either. And Owen Almighty, who's mired out in the 20 hole, he kind of has one way to go. Otherwise, you're going to be hung 6 wide into the first turn. So I think this is going to be a very, very fast pace early on. I would expect a half mile in that 46-second range, which if that does end up happening, I think it's going to end up being sort of destructive to the horses that are on the front end. It's really going to compromise their chances, possibly to set up for a horse like Journalism, or maybe even the horses farther back than that.
All right. So with that being said, I find it fascinating, right? How you handicap races based on speed. Is the horse a closer? What post they come out of. So now that that's all been revealed, who benefits? What horse is going to benefit from this being a fast-paced race?
I would say there are three main winners of the fast paced situation. You have two horses in Sovereignty and Sandman who are drawn toward the outside. They've both run very well going longer distances. This race at 1.25 miles won't be an issue for them, but they're not blessed with natural early speed. So the faster early on, the better for them. The same can be said about a horse that I'm interested in. That's Burnham Square, who he is not a fast horse early on by any stretch of the imagination. But he is a horse that it seems like he will run all day long. If you gave him 10 miles, he'd just keep going. It doesn't seem like there's any bottom to this horse. He will just continue to run and give you everything he's got. So he's another one that the faster early, the better for him. The other thing that separates him from maybe a couple of the other horses in here, Anita, that interests me the most, Burnham Square's run very well at Churchill Downs. He did so as a 2-year-old, and that was before they put some equipment on him called blinkers, a little bit of headgear that gets him to focus a little bit more. Churchill Downs, it shouldn't just be a given or an expectation that horses are going to handle the dirt track. So if you have a horse that you like coming into the race that's already proven themselves over the dirt here in Louisville, that's a major feather in their cap. It's one less thing that you have to worry about the first Saturday in May.
All right. Well, with Naira Bets, that's the way that you want to wager on the Kentucky Derby. Their app is easy, secure, and get your free $25 Derby bet plus a $200 deposit match at nairabets.com/Anita25. So with that being said, Matt, hold my hand, take me to the window, as I like to say. How are you wagering on the Kentucky Derby?
Well, if the early wagering is any indication, I should get a fair enough price just to bet Burnham Square to win. That would be one of the first things that I would do. Currently, as we're recording this, he's probably in that 22 to 1 range. I think he's going to come down from that. He's probably going to be closer to 15 to 1 by post time. I'm not opposed to an exacta box in a situation like this. I wouldn't normally recommend that. I think long-term boxes are a long way to lose because you're effectively guaranteeing one of your bets is a loser. But a box, simply put, if you run 1-2 either way for the horses that you use, you're going to cash. I would use Burnham Square and journalism in here, acknowledging that while I like Burnham Square and I think I'm going to get an overlaid price on him, journalism is strictly the horse to beat in here. I don't think the pace scenario is a problem for him, and he's handled himself very professionally in the mornings here. So those are going to be the two big bets for me, just as far as the race itself is concerned. Burnham Square and a box there with journalism and Burnham Square. But I'm also going to hopefully wrap up some other bets, whether they're pick threes, pick fours, pick fives in the Burnham Square, just because I think that inflated value that he's going to offer here on Saturday afternoon, you're probably never going to get it again. Take advantage of it in this big field.
Gotta like that. All right, before we let you go, outside of the Derby, right? We've got a lot of races that are going to be happening on Saturday. What's your favorite race, and is there a horse you absolutely love that you're like, yes, I've got to make sure I get a wager in on this one?
It's actually the race prior to the Kentucky Derby. It's called the Turf Classic. They'll be going 1.1 miles on the turf course here at Churchill. And there's a horse called Cameo Performance. He's 15 to 1 on the morning line. He's trained by Brendan Walsh. In his most recent start down at the fairgrounds in New Orleans, he finished a good third. But if you watch the replay, you go, what's the excuse? Why couldn't he get to the top two? The way that the turf course at the fairgrounds played all winter long, they typically had what's called the temporary rail out. So basically, you would save the inner part of the turf course for the big races at the end of the meeting. When you take the temporary rail down, the inner portion of the turf is much better than the outside portion is, but it can lend itself to speed horses getting out there and not stopping. They're down there on the fresh grass. The grass has had time to recover. They can take advantage of that. Why I like Cameo Performance, he finished a good third closing into the pace, but he was out on that worst part of the turf course. He's going to be dealing with a fresh turf here at Churchill Downs. It seems like there's plenty of pace signed on, and he's going to be a big number here. I expect every bit of the morning line for Cameo Performance. Look for him late. He'll be rolling from the back of the pack, and that's going to be another bet that I make there, Anita. We'll play a Cameo Performance into Burnham Square daily double.
Fantastic. I will follow your lead, sir. Before we let you go, what are you going to be doing Saturday, Derby Day? How can folks find you? More picks, more plays, more Matt.
All day long, USA Network will kick things off, but then we'll pivot over to NBC, I believe 2 o'clock or 2:30, one of the two. Check your local listings, but we'll take you right on through the 151st Kentucky Derby. We'll wrap things up about 7:30 on the East Coast.
Fantastic. Tell my good friend Mike Tirico I said hi.
Absolutely. Mike is one of the best people that you'll ever meet, and he is an absolute wizard. It doesn't matter what sport he's covering. He knows more than just about anybody. He's the best.
His preparation is bar none. Matt, really do appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Enjoy the race.
Anita, thank you. Good luck.
All right, I want to thank Matt as well as Ryan for joining us on the program. How am I going to go to the window? Based on the conversation that I've been having, of course, with Ryan and Matt and a number of other handicappers that I've spoken to, I'm going to play an exacta box. I'm going to go with 8 journalism, who is favored. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about this horse, so of course I'm going to include him. I'm going to go with the 9 horse, Burnham Square, and I'm going to go with the 7 horse, Luxor Cafe. God, when each and every Kentucky Derby, you hear about these horses from Japan who are just absolutely sensational. And again, this horse was really dusted the competition in the Japanese Road to the Derby. I know got to Churchill Downs late, but I think could be a huge surprise. So that's how I'm going to play it. An exacta box with the 8, the 9, and the 7. Hey, I want to thank our guests again. This show brought to you by Naira Bets. Bet the Kentucky Derby. Experience the thrill of the sport of kings with Naira Bets horse racing app. It is fast, it is easy, and it is secure. Get your free $25 Derby bet plus a $200 deposit match at nairabets.com/Anita25. So make sure you do that. And of course, ABR, America's Best Racing, no other place to go get your horse racing information, everything under the sun, some of the best content at ABR. Also, of course, 500 level iconic original graphic tees. 500 level, live like a legend. We'll see if these rookies are going to be living like legends. So again, as I like to say, run, don't walk. Head over to 500 level. Get your rookie t-shirts. They are on display right now. And again, a big shout out to 2 new sponsors on the program. We're talking horse racing, so we got to talk some brown liquor. Good Flame Ventures, hitting us up with the Wing Woman Reserve whiskey, an 8 and 9-year-old. The 8-year-old was the finalist in the 2023 Scottish Whiskey Awards, and of course a fantastic gin from Italy, El de Torre Gin. You want to purchase these, head to events.thespirits.shop. And Brayburn, which is an international whiskey cask investment specialist group helping investors protect and diversify wealth with liquid gold, Scotch, and Japanese whiskey in the cask. So make sure you head over to us.brayburnwhiskey.com/Anita to find out more information. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Good luck at the Derby, and hopefully we will have helped you win some money.